Welcome to Alimentary, the podcast series where you will not only learn about your amazing body, how it works, and of course why food is so important, but also pick up some simple recipes and lifestyle tips and tweaks which will help you to influence your health in a positive way. In the past couple of episodes, I have referred to a vegan diet, particularly in relation to vitamin B12 deficiency. So I thought I should elaborate on that and just share some tips for anyone who's on a vegan diet or considering adopting a vegan diet, just around a couple of the key nutrients which are less bioavailable or less easy to get from plant sources as they are from animal sources. So without sort of this knowledge, vegans can, someone might decide to go on a vegan diet and trying to be really healthy and inadvertently then become deficient over a period of time in things like, vitamin B12 or iron, So obviously more vegetables are great for all of us as well. Particularly a wide variety of colours of vegetables offer us a broader range of vitamins and minerals and that fabulous fibre that our gut loves, but some of these nutrients that we're going to talk about are really key. So here we go. Here's some tips for being on a vegan diet. So again, we're just going to go through some of the nutrients that vegans are sort of most likely, to be deficient in. This isn't a complete guide to a vegan diet or anything like that, but just as I say, a couple of tips around the ones that people can be most likely to be deficient in. So, if you're changing your diet, it's always good to get advice, particularly in relation to your own personal, health needs and nutritional status and all of that. So we start off with calcium. So traditionally, I think probably a lot of us would have depended on dairy as our source of calcium. And obviously calcium is really important to maintain healthy bones and teeth. And also our muscles need calcium to contract as well. We use calcium to contract and then magnesium to relax them. So plants, actually, there are some great sources of calcium in plants. So green leafy vegetables like broccoli and cabbage are super. Often you'll see fortified drinks. So if you're having, say, an oat milk or, an almond milk, they'll often be fortified with calcium as well. Sesame seeds are a great source. So you might add your sesame seeds to, your breakfast or a salad or a smoothie. You can also get tahini, which is made from sesame seeds, pulses and dried fruits such as raisins, prunes, figs, and dried apricots. Now, obviously, with dried fruit, you do want to manage your portion size. Never eat them by themselves. So dried fruit have a higher sugar content, than raw fruit, for example. So it's always a good idea to have them with a main meal or have them with a handful of nuts and seeds, because the protein and the fiber in the nuts and seeds are going to help slow down the release of glucose into the blood. So again, that's raisins, prunes, figs, and dried apricots. The figs and the dried apricots are definitely handy ones to have, to add into a trail mix, for example. So the next mineral that we're going to chat about is iron. And again, it is much easier to absorb iron from animal sources, but there are plant sources of iron as well. It is just a good idea to add foods rich in vitamin C alongside your iron-rich foods when you are eating them from plant sources, because the vitamin C helps us to absorb the iron. So obviously it's essential for the production of red blood cells. Good sources are pulses, whole grains, dark green leafy vegetables, some dried fruits again, like apricots, prunes, and figs again, so we're coming across some of the same foods, that contain the calcium as well. So I'll just name some in particular, which are high in iron: spinach, oatmeal, dried figs, tofu, almonds, lentils, kidney beans, chickpeas, raisins, sunflower seeds, green peas. So they're pretty much everyday items, but you do need to eat a variety of them. So one of those, so just eating a load of spinach alone probably, won't be enough. But if you're taking in a range of those every day, then that should hopefully keep your iron levels high. And again, eating them with the vitamin C. So again, nature often provides us with some vitamin C alongside the iron in plants because it knows that we find it hard to absorb it. So, for example, there's a little bit of iron in lemons. We talked about that in a previous episode, and obviously they contain vitamin C. I'm looking at peas there. They contain vitamin C as well as iron. So nature is really clever like that. So zinc is another really important mineral, and it can be found in many beans and legumes and whole grains. But I suppose one thing to note is that some of these foods can have phytic acids, and they can bind nutrients, so that can hinder the zinc absorption. So if you soak or sprout, so for example, with your oats, it's a really good idea to soak your oats before you make your porridge, so whether you leave them overnight or even, for an hour, that is going to help break down those phytates and make the nutrients more bioavailable. So same with grains, with beans, bean sprouts are going to have the zinc is going to be much more bioavailable from that, and the phytic acid is reduced. Now, so the other thing that you just want to watch out for is, some plant foods are very high in oxalates, and spinach is one of those, and spinach would be a food that a lot of vegans would rely on for iron, like we just mentioned. So for a lot of people, it's not going to be a problem. But if you do have any issues with kidney stones, you do want to just monitor, your intake of spinach, and just make sure that you don't use consistently high amount of spinach, Swiss chard, beet greens, that kind of thing, because they can sometimes result in a kidney stone. Again, it's not going to happen to everybody, but just if you have any issues with kidney stones. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important in our diet as well. They can help reduce inflammation, and also they're essential for our cell membranes, and so for the function of our receptors in our membranes. Obviously really important to include the plant sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, olive oil, and they contain fatty acid called alpha linoleic acid, ALA, and our body uses ALA for energy, and it also can convert a small amount into EPA and DHA, although that is limited. So obviously those flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, they are a great source of protein and fiber as well, so really important to include those. So finally, I want to go back to vitamin B12. So we can only absorb vitamin B12 from animal sources. I dedicated an episode to B12, I think it's number 11. And if you're in any doubt about why it is so important, maybe go back and have a listen to that. There'll be a good bit more detail on it. But it is really important to not become deficient in this essential vitamin. They're all obviously essential and important, but vitamin B12 is hugely important for our central nervous system. The symptoms that we can experience with B12 deficiency are wide and varied, and the health implications in the long term are really serious, So my next episode is actually going to be an interview with Sally Patchlock, who co-wrote Could It Be B12? An Epidemic of Misdiagnosis with her husband, Jeffrey Stewart. So that will be really worth listening to her expertise on the matter. There are a number of groups of people who are at risk of becoming B12 deficient, and people on a vegan diet are one of those groups. Super important. So the only way you'll see some vegan food which maybe says it has vitamin B12, like say, for example, spirulina, but again, it's not the form that we can use. Also, you will see some foods which are fortified with vitamin B12, like nutritional yeast, and that can be good, but you need to check what type of B12 it is. So a lot of times maybe fortified foods would have cyanocobalamin, which is not the form we're looking for. We're looking for hydroxy or methylcobalamin. So I would definitely really recommend supplementing, and supplementing all the time, continually. And also then if you're having blood tests, obviously double check your reading. As I said, go back and listen to the B12 episode. It's really super important for your health that you do supplement with B12 if you're on a vegan diet. So another thing to consider if you're on a vegan diet is your protein sources. So there are lots of plant sources of protein. Obviously you have your legumes, your chickpeas, your lentils, but not all plant sources of protein have all 9 essential amino acids. And They're called essential because our bodies can't make them. So we need to take them in every single day. And obviously our amino acids are really important for rebuild, repair. Our protein is the basis of all of that. So today's store cupboard staple is quinoa, because quinoa is one of the couple of plant sources of protein which actually do contain all 9 essential amino acids. So it takes the having to think about it, out of the equation. So it's also really convenient, really handy to cook. And it contains other nutrients like manganese, phosphorus, magnesium, folate, which is B9, and thiamine, which is vitamin B1, So a really fantastic grain. It comes from South America, from the Andes region, South America. It's technically a seed, but it is actually classified as a whole grain. Now, it's naturally gluten-free as well, so perfect for celiac. It is so handy to cook. If you take half a cup of quinoa and just toast it on the pan for less than a minute, and then add in double the amount of water, so a cup of water. Just leave it bubbling away. It'll have absorbed the heat, maybe stir it every couple of minutes. It'll have absorbed all the liquid within about 8 minutes. You can add a flavor to it. There's not much of a flavor of quinoa, maybe slightly nutty, but I usually add half a teaspoon of turmeric and some black pepper, because that makes it more anti-inflammatory. But you could add a little bit of garlic. You could add vegetarian stock, whatever flavors you like. You could add to the water to cook the quinoa in. Now, I would most of the time have it with my salad if I'm prepping a salad to bring for lunch. It really works well if you're prepping a couple of days in advance as well, because the quinoa will soak up, any of the juices from, say, cherry tomatoes or cucumbers, that kind of thing. So it stops the salad from getting soggy over the couple of days. Obviously packed in an airtight container in the fridge. But it's also lovely cooked and maybe with roast vegetables. So warm or cold, it's so fast, as I mentioned, cooked within about 8 minutes. It's a super source. There is some carbs in it, but it is mostly protein, and it has those other nutrients as well. Now, you could get quinoa flakes as well. They could be used to make a porridge, and also you could use the quinoa flakes as a topping for your crumbles, for desserts. And you can, in some health food stores, you can actually get quinoa puffs as well, as an alternative breakfast cereal. So all in all, whether you're on a vegan diet, whether you're celiac, just generally, quinoa is a super store cupboard staple to have. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to clarify that the podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional care from a doctor or trained health professional, nor does it constitute medical advice or services if you're in a position to need either. However, if you find it interesting, you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes, or sign up for my newsletter on lynsharkeynutrition.ie.